First off, we'd just like to remind everyone, if you're not actively speaking, to keep yourself on mute. And that's not only so we don't speak over each other, but also the audio recording will be a little higher quality so we don't have any background noise. So welcome to another Solve Network call. We're going to be having a presentation from our guest expert, Kelsey Wiebe, and she's going to be talking about healthy diets. And I'm really excited because we have a lot of parallels, but I'm sure there are a lot of differences too. And I would like to encourage everyone, if you're listening to this after the fact, to contact us at the Solve Network so you can find out who our upcoming guest experts are. And it gives you a great opportunity to connect, because after the presentation, you have an opportunity to talk to them one-on-one and get your questions answered. So if you're interested in that, or you'd like to come on and be a guest expert yourself, please contact us, or you can go to our website, which is thesolvenetwork.com. So you're not here to listen to me though, so I'm gonna hand it over to Kelsey, and I look forward to hearing the presentation.
Yay. All right, guys, so I'll share my screen here. Let's see here, and we'll start the slideshow. All right. Well, hello, everybody. If you don't know who I am, which I think all of you do, a lot of you are family. I appreciate you being here. My name is Kelsey Wiebe, and I am a personal trainer and an online health coach, and I specifically help people who, well, specifically I help women who struggle with feeling out of control with food, or obsessed with food, or are just struggling to feel comfortable in their own bodies. So, and a lot of that has come to me learning more about dieting and how our brains and our bodies react to dieting. And so I'm working on teaching people a healthier approach to dieting, or a healthier approach to creating a healthy lifestyle that's much more fulfilling. So on to our next. So if you know anything about our culture, we are a culture that tends to love before and after pictures. We are a culture that absolutely praises weight loss, especially fast and quick weight loss. We really appreciate transformations, and we want to see results quickly. We're a very quick kind of culture. And so here's a before and after of Allie Vincent. Allie Vincent, she, in 2008, oops, let's see, there we go. In 2008, she actually dropped 122 pounds in 30 weeks to become the very first female biggest loser. Let's see. Oh, microwave culture, yeah. So the very first female biggest loser. And she won the 5th season overall. And she was feeling like she was on top of the world, right? Like everyone was celebrating with her. It was a really big deal. She had this huge transformation. But unfortunately, if you know anything, there tends to be an after these afters, right? And so like if this was a Weight Watchers commercial, or a Biggest Loser commercial, or any sort of weight loss product commercial, then clearly this would be the end of the story, but there's not, there's more. So in 2016, 8 years later, after her big win, she went on to Oprah Winfrey Show, and she shared how she had, or not on the Oprah Winfrey Show, but she went on a show and she shared how she had regained the weight. And unfortunately, she's not the only one. In fact, there was a study done by the National Institute of Health back in 2016 that followed 14 of these contestants after their 30-week competition was done. And 13 of the 14 contestants regained an average of 66% of their weight back that they had lost. And 4 were actually heavier than before they even started the competition. And this is hard, because we're in a culture that is inundated with quick weight loss, with telling us that we need to lose weight quickly, that in order to be loved, in order to have any sort of self-worth, we need to shrink ourselves. We must be smaller. And if we're not, there's something wrong with us. Which then brings me to, hello, this is me. So just to kind of introduce myself, again, my name is Kelsey Wiebe. I am a NASM certified personal trainer. I'm an AFA group fitness instructor, a registered yoga instructor. I have my bachelor's degree in biomedical science and chemistry, and I'm the founder of Rediscover You. And while this picture, obviously, I don't have that huge before and after picture like Ali Vincent, but what I do have is the other side of the story when it comes to dieting and diet culture. And that's because looks do not tell the whole story. So while, like, do not let the muscles and the big smile fool you. In this picture, like the night before, I had binged and purged. And all this day leading up to the photo shoot, I refused to eat anything. And I was doing crazy amounts of cardio, anything I could to try and look a certain way for this photo. And even then, I took this photo and was extremely nitpicky and disappointed with it. And it's because I had struggled for 18 years with eating disorders. So from an early age, back when I was 12 years old, I went on my first restrictive diet. It was one of those 48-hour juice cleanse, Hollywood juice cleanse. And I lost a good 10 pounds at 12 years old. Now, granted, obviously it was a juice cleanse, so most of it was just water weight. But what it did is it kind of sparked something within me. And after that, I really struggled with anorexia all the way through middle school, getting down to about 88 pounds. Then struggling with binge eating as an adult, just not really understanding how to control my food. Eventually, later on into my late 20s, I was struggling with binging and purging, or binge eating and excessive over exercise. I was obsessed with food. I couldn't go without tracking every single macro, every single calorie. And the flip side, it's super ironic. I would be so cautious, wouldn't even allow myself to eat a banana because it had too much sugar. But then something would happen, I'd lose control, and I would binge eat on 3,000 calories worth of chocolate and pizza and you name it. And the only reason that I was able to maintain because of excessive exercise. And this is why I just never thought that I could find recovery. I thought that I could be healed. I never thought that I could not be obsessed with food and my weight. And I finally found recovery in late December, early January, when I stumbled upon intuitive eating and habits and making peace with food. And that's my mission now, is to share with others, because we're inundated with this message of just eat less and move more. But then we have nope, you've got to do it the keto diet, no carbs, don't have any carbs, they'll make you fat. Oh no, vegan, if you eat meat or if you're eating fats or you're whatever, that's, meat is making you fat. And then you have paleo, no, meat is good. And but bread is bad. And then you have oh, well, just eating altogether, just stop eating. We have intermittent fasting. We have Weight Watchers. We have count your points, count your calories. We are so confused by what the message is. And the biggest thing that I want you to recognize that does kind of put these things together is it's kind of advertising quick results, and it's advertising restriction. It's advertising you to cut something out from your diet. And the problem is at the end of the day, we end up looking at ourselves. We end up feeling like we're the problem, that we're the ones who are undisciplined. We're the ones who are out of control. We're the ones who failed. We're the ones who are broken. And honestly, the system is broken, not you. The culture is broken, not you. Because when we go on these excessive restrictive diets and we lose weight drastically, our brains are not meant for it. So diets don't work. That's the key takeaway. They do not work, especially when they're really, really restrictive. In fact, there's so many studies out there that recognize that your chances of succeeding and having long-lasting weight loss. So a lot of people, losing the weight's not hard, right? The problem is keeping the weight off. And so your chances of losing weight and keeping it off for 5 years or more are the same as surviving metastatic lung cancer, 5%. So 95% of people who go on a diet will regain the weight within 1 to 5 years. And more often, they tend to gain even more weight because restrictive dieting, it actually causes weight gain. So if you want in the long run to gain weight in the long run, just go on a diet and you're good to go. And here's why. Because we have a 2 million-year-old brain. So this is the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is like a thermostat for our body, right? Our bodies want to stay in homeostasis. And your brain doesn't care that you want to fit in this summer's bikini, okay? Your brain cares that you survive and you make sure that you don't starve. Because even though we now live in a culture and in a climate where food is not scarce, where food is actually in abundance, our brain has to fight, or it was so used to fighting and adapting, because back in primitive time, food was scarce and it was a much bigger deal in order to continue our existence to create all of these different survival mechanisms for us to make sure that we don't starve. So the hypothalamus is our thermostat. So I live in Arizona and it's quite hot here. So just like if I were to set the temperature of the room at 70 degrees Fahrenheit and then open a window and let all the hot air come in, eventually the air conditioner would kick back on because the thermostat has set to 70. It's going to put on enough air conditioning until the whole temperature of the room is back to 70 degrees. And that's what our brain does. So when we go on a big restrictive diet, when we drastically cut calories, our brain is like, hold up, wait a second. And it activates survival mechanisms. And so some of those survival mechanisms include increasing ghrelin. Ghrelin is our hunger hormone, which means that we have increased cravings. There's actually been findings too that like your chemoreceptors, that actually your smell is increased. All of these things to increase your appetite and make you want to continue to eat. Furthermore, it drops leptin. And leptin is created in your fat cells, and it basically lets your body know that you're full, that you're satiated. But when leptin is decreased, you can't feel full. So you can eat and eat and eat, and you get this bottomless pit feeling, and that's when binge eating happens. And a lot of times binge eating is actually stimulated or started after a restrictive diet or even like anorexia. So a lot of anorexics, once they heal, then they'll go into binge eating because their body is just trying to survive. It's trying to get them to eat and eat and eat so that they'll come back to a normal weight. And then of course, there's also the increased cortisol. So cortisol is our stress hormone. It is what is released whenever we are in needing to fight or flight. It'll cause us to retain water. It'll cause us to release glucose into our bloodstream so that we have energy for fight or flight, which then releases insulin. And insulin is our storing hormone, which means we're going to hold on to body fat, particularly around our organs, our visceral fat. So that's when you're holding on and having more belly fat, a lot of it's cortisol. And so not only do we have the stress from our brain being like, hello, let's survive this starvation, hello, but then we also have the increased stress of culture telling us that we need to be thinner, and us looking at the scale and being like, why isn't it moving? And so all of these things lead to stress eating, right? And obviously we don't have that satiety hormone going anymore. All of this is fighting against us to gain more weight. And the problem is the more you diet, the harder it is to lose weight. So this is something, like I said, from that 2016 study from the NIH, they found that actually after the Biggest Losers, so like the 14 contestants, right, they ended up regaining the weight, but their metabolism slowed. So your brain, the hypothalamus, will lower your metabolism so that you can conserve energy since you're taking in less calories. It wants to make sure that it's more efficient, right? But unfortunately, the more often we diet, and particularly the more drastically we diet, that metabolism will never go back up. Like that metabolism for these Biggest Losers, on average, it's 700 calories lower. That's a ton. So they cannot eat 700 calories as much as they used to, even though they're back at their normal weight, because of how drastically they lost it. Dieting, and this is the big one for me, dieting is a major cause or a major factor in the development of eating disorders, right? Restrictive diets can easily lead to anorexia or different forms of control in that sense, but then it also can lead to disordered eating as far as binging and purging, or just having sense of morality or guilt when it comes to eating certain foods, feeling like you're a bad person for eating a cupcake or whatever it is. And there's a huge factor of there's huge psychological factors that go in, or that are involved with the scale and with trying to lose weight and trying to diet, particularly the binge restrict cycle. So this is when we restrict a type of food, we have this mindset, okay, I need to lose weight. I need to lose weight. I need to get thin. I'm going to either restrict my calories, or I'm going to, no carbs or no sugar, just cut it out. And then I'm being good, and maybe you're good for like a week or so, right? And then you have those increased cravings. You feel hungry, you feel deprived. You have that whole slew of survival mechanisms that are natural. And then you have that primal hunger, like you actually are hungry and you're trying to say no, no, no. And what ends up happening is eventually you end up just giving in, caving, binging, just going all out, which then makes you feel guilt, makes you feel shame. And you're like, okay, you know what? You feel guilty. I feel shamed. I feel like a failure. I'm going to try again. I'm going to promise to do better. You know what? Diet starts again on Monday. How many of us have said that? The problem with the diet starts again on Monday is it turns into this last supper mentality. And then we end up being like, well, I'm never going to have this sugar or this cupcake or this pizza again because my diet starts tomorrow. So I better eat it all right now. And it's a whole cycle because we're not actually getting to the root of the problem. So what are we supposed to do? If we know that diets don't work, if we know that restrictive cutting calories and food and macros doesn't work, what are we supposed to do? And here's what I suggest. I suggest a shift in perspective, all right? And that kind of paradigm shift, that kind of shift in lenses. So if I were walking around with these pink glasses, I would see the world completely differently. I kind of want you to think of these glasses as diet culture, as us being told that the only way for us to have worth or value is if we are a certain size, that for us to be healthy, we need to be skinny, that for us to be, to feel good or to be happy, it's that I'll be happy when I lose weight. I encourage you, let's take these lenses off and let's see it for what it really is. And instead of let's stop trying to lose and let's start trying to gain. All right, again, shifting our perspective, that rather than focusing on all the things we want to lose the inches, we want to lose the dress sizes, we want to lose those pounds on the scale. Rather than focusing on what we want to lose, let's focus on gaining muscle, focus on gaining strength, focus on gaining a positive support group, focus on gaining energy and gaining vitality and more quality years with our kids and with our grandkids and with our family. Let's focus on gaining confidence, on gaining appreciation and love for our bodies and for who we are, and just having overall vitality, just overall having longer, more quality life. I also encourage you to add rather than subtract. All right. So a lot of diet culture tells us to restrict, cut the calories, eat less, don't eat for this amount of window, don't eat this, don't eat that, right? And instead I encourage you, let's focus on adding. Here's just a couple of things that we can focus on adding into our daily life. Add water. Water is huge. It clears toxins from our skin, from our bodies. It regulates our digestion, making sure that we're not bloated, making sure that everything's kind of working. It increases our energy naturally. Drinking more water, it won't give you the crash of caffeine, but what water does is it actually generates red blood cells. So you have more oxygen going and flowing through your body, which naturally increases your energy. And it's also a natural appetite suppressant, right? A lot of times we confuse hunger with thirst. And if we were to just add more water throughout the day, start our day with water before coffee, we're far more likely to eat less just because we're not hungry. more movement. And I'm not saying like getting on the spin bike and spinning for hours and hours or going for long, long runs. I'm talking about just simply walking, getting more steps in, just getting up out of our chair periodically. Walking is one of the best things that you can absolutely do for lifelong weight loss. In the blue zones where people live, like they have the most centenarians, the most people that live to 100 years old, they all walk everywhere. And it's because walking reduces stress. So it reduces those cortisol levels, right, that hold on to belly fat. It increases your bone density. It increases your cardiovascular health, right? Your endurance. You don't have to run or have high impact in order to increase your endurance and cardiovascular health. And LISS. So this is why I really like walking. LISS, it stands for low intensity, steady state cardio. All right. So as opposed to everyone's always talking about HIIT, high intensity, go, go, go. Rah! High intensity actually raises your cortisol levels even more, and it'll stay raised for a really long time. Low intensity, steady state is awesome because it actually pulls the energy from your fat storage because you're at a low enough heart rate. Whereas high intensity, it's a different energy state, so it ends up pulling from carbohydrates. This is amazing. It's pulling from your fat storages already, and it's going to make you feel better, I promise. And lastly, one of the things, and really extremely important, do not underestimate adding more sleep into your life. The more sleep you have, it's going to regulate those hunger hormones. So when you get a full 7 to 9 hours of sleep, you're going to actually regulate those leptin and ghrelin levels so that you can actually reconnect with those internal hunger fullness cues. You'll reduce cortisol, again, reduce that stress hormone, and you're going to have better judgment, right? When we're tired, it's almost like we're drunk. In fact, they found that like when you're driving, and if you're driving tired, it's just as bad, if not worse, than driving drunk because we're not making good decisions. We're not focused. Sleep is absolutely vital for any sort of health or weight loss goals you may have. And the last thing that I would recommend for us in order to shift our perspective and to actually see results that are long lasting is to disconnect so that we can reconnect. And what do I mean by disconnect? I'm talking about social media. I'm talking about YouTube channels. I'm talking about people like celebrities, anyone who is inundating you with the message that you are not worthy or you are not beautiful or you are not enough unless you lose weight or unless you take these products. And this is huge. With my girls, one of their first assignments is to redesign their environment. And part of your environment is your social media. If you are following people, if you are following celebrities or anybody that makes you feel less than, that the moment you look at their stuff, you're comparing yourself or it makes you feel like crap about yourself, it is up to you to curate that social media and to just get rid of it. Furthermore, to reconnect or to disconnect from diet culture and products altogether, disconnect from these products that are not healthy, that there's not enough studies about them, that actually they can be really detrimental. They're not actual food. There's nothing natural about these things. And all they do are, again, putting you in this mindset of looking for a quick result, of looking for fast weight loss, not sustainable weight loss. And again, all of these products are going to end up causing you to yo-yo and actually gain more weight in the long run. And I want to encourage you to reconnect with you. Eat mindfully, reconnect with your hunger and fullness cues. Listen, are you actually hungry, or are you just trying to follow someone else's meal plan, or set rules? When are you full? Sometimes it's difficult to feel those fullness cues, so we need to make sure we're plating our food, so we're eating consciously, that we're eating slowly, because it takes 15 to 20 minutes for those fullness cues to kick in. Make sure that we're making our mealtime a satisfying experience, that we're really enjoying foods, that we're eating nourishing foods that you enjoy, that I enjoy, that because that's the only way something is going to be sustainable, is if you actually like eating it, and if you actually feel good after eating it. And food is an amazing way for us to share and really connect with one another. And there shouldn't be any guilt or shame surrounding that. I also encourage you to learn to appreciate your body. And I know it's hard, especially when we're told that we shouldn't or that it's not enough. But learning to appreciate our body for what it does for us, that we have legs that allow us to walk, we have hands that allow us to hold, we have eyes that can see, we have a beautiful body that gives us an ability to serve others. And regardless of how you may feel when you're nitpicking, if you can really come from a place of appreciating it and wanting to nourish it, then you're going to see results long lasting, because you're not trying to punish it. You're just trying to love it and be grateful for the gift that it is. And celebrate your uniqueness. Celebrate what makes you special. What is unique and special and beautiful about you. And when you can really focus on those things, you get to celebrate it. You get to show up in the world, because the world needs you. And when we feel less than, when we feel afraid to show up in the world, and when all we can do is obsess and think about food and obsess and think about our bodies and our weight, we can't show up for others. There's no space. There's nothing more that we can do except obsess about little things that no one cares about. People care about you, and they care about how you can contribute to the world. And so I guess my final call to you is to take some time to rediscover you and who you are and what makes you special and what makes you feel and be your best.